What if talking to women you were attracted to wasn't so complicated? I used to be just like you, bro. I used to talk to women, the conversation wouldn't go anywhere. Then I would get home, I would open up my laptop, go to Google Drive, open up a Google Doc, and fucking journal about the conversation I just had and try to come up with stuff that I could have said instead. What if I said that instead? What if I could have said something clever? And I would just try to come up with like clever shit that I could have said. And maybe I'll meet a girl again soon and I could use that line that I just came up with her, you know, and I'm learning. Just sitting there trying to come up with like clever lines or responses to stuff neurotically. I went to a club in Madrid. I was there with some friends, just like in Europe for a few weeks. And I made eye contact with this beautiful blonde girl. This was back in 2023, before my approaching era. I make eye contact with her and she's not looking away, bro. She's looking at me and she's kind of like dancing, moving her body. She's looking right at me. And I'm like, oh my God. So I just walk towards her and I start talking to her. It turns out she's American. So we kind of start talking a little bit, but I'm not really a club guy. I don't know how to like dance well. So I'm kind of like a little bit awkward about it. And then I'm not even drinking because I just like didn't really feel like drinking alcohol. So I just had water. And she was like, why are you drinking water? And I just gave her, I just said like, it's because it's good for you, And we just like kept talking. And basically nothing happened. I mean, we kind of danced for a bit. I tried to buy her a drink. I tried to kind of get to know her a bit, but she wasn't really interested and she left. I just remember going back with my friends and being like, fuck, like I fumbled the bag, dude. I fucking fumbled the bag. Like I could have said something more funny. My friend also was like kind of in that same headspace where he's like, you could have said something better. You could have like said something more clever, trying to come up with like something that I could have said. And I remember like journaling about it that night being like, I could have said this to like that whole like, why are you drinking water line? I could have said this. I could have said this. I could have, this would have been better. This would have been better. And I was just like neurotically like going into like my head being like, what could I have said? Hundreds of approaches later, dozens of dates later. And I'm also in a 2-year relationship right now with the girl that I met by approaching her. What I realize is that what I should have said was nothing. Nothing at all. I lived in Mexico for about 2 months back in 2023. And one day at the gym that I was going to, there was a girl that was working out right next to me. I was doing like, not because she liked me or anything, but just because she just happened to be right next to me. She was working out really hard. She was doing this like, HIIT workout, HIIT. She was like doing jumping jacks and push-ups and all this shit. We kind of made eye contact because she was like literally like 5 feet away from me. And I was being socially bold and I just gave her a high five. I ended up going to a different part of the gym, but I kind of still saw her, I was still looking at her a little bit. But then I was like, fuck, like what if she leaves and I can't say anything? Like what if I never get a chance to ask her out? I do a couple exercises and then I walk back up to her like 5 minutes later and I'm like, hey, this is super random, but you're really cute. And I just wanted to say hi before you left. And turns out we had met each other before. Literally 3 weeks later, I was at a dance class and she was also apparently at that dance class. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't put two and two together because she looked so different. Like at that dance class, she had makeup on, she was in a dress, she looked really, really cute. And I do remember her. I remembered her later and I remember really liking her at that dance class. But then, I never really asked her out, kind of just moved on. And then 3 weeks later, turns out she was at that same gym that I was going to. And I gave her a high five, not even knowing that was the same girl. So she's like, yeah, I was at the dance class. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I didn't even realize that. But then we just started talking. She was really cute. So I was like, let me just like ask her out, I told her, I was like, it was a Friday, by the way. So I told her like, hey, I was going to go get sushi later tonight, like, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. or something. And I was like, you want to come with me like after the gym, like after we shower and, get changed or whatever? Like, do you want to go? And she was like, okay. Sure. So we exchanged numbers and we ended up going on a date later that night. What happened for the next few hours was literally probably the most memorable date of my life. We met up at this sushi place. This was kind of around the time where I was trying to figure everything out. All this like social confidence stuff, this dating confidence stuff. Like how do I communicate properly with women in a way that makes them like me and, in a way that feels good to me as well. I was watching a lot of YouTube videos like you, just kind of trying to figure everything out. So I'm on this date with her. We're kind of just chatting, trying to escalate physically where I can. Like I'm putting my hand on her shoulder, her back a little bit, maybe her, but I'm not fully comfortable with it just yet, but I'm trying, I'm trying to push myself out of my like comfort zone, basically like what I'm comfortable with, doing. So I'm trying to tease her. I'm trying to touch her a little bit, kind of make it more romantic. We get the churros. That's cool. We're kind of having more fun, eating something sweet. And where I was living in Mexico at the time was on a beach. It was like this beach town. So I was like, what if we went to the beach right now? And it was like nighttime already. It was like, in order to get to the beach, we had to walk. You had to get through this, like, where we were, in order to get to the beach, you had to go through this like 5-minute long trail that was like dark as fuck. It was just like these huge tropical bushes and this like sandy path, but like no one was on it. There wasn't any lights. There wasn't anything like that. We're kind of in a part of the town that like is kind of further away from all like the lights and restaurants and bars. We're kind of like a little bit more isolated from everybody. We're looking through this like trail and it's just darkness. We should do this. Like we should go do this, It's scary as fuck, and she's kind of hesitant. She's like, I don't know if we should, but I kind of take it upon myself to kind of use this moment, kind of escalate things, and I'm like, no, just take my hand and I'll protect you. Don't worry about it. It was just such a long time since I had something like that. I had just gotten out of a relationship. I was trying to figure myself out, really, like my confidence. With my ex-girlfriend, we never really had this like fun type of energy because we met during COVID, so we couldn't really go do fun stuff like this. So we're in this dark trail and eventually we break through and we get to the beach. The stars are out. There's this amazing breeze. The waves are reflecting the light of the moon and all this stuff. A couple people around, but there's not too many. So we walk a little bit further, but then we just like sit down on the sand and I put my arm around her and eventually I go in for a kiss. And we kiss each other a little bit. We make out a little bit. And a few weeks earlier, I had walked along that beach, but I was lonely and I was by myself and I was kind of depressed because I wasn't really achieving what I wanted to in life. Like I wanted to be more socially confident, but I wasn't really experiencing the results as quick as I wanted to. And I came across this resort that was right on the sand and they had these lounges that you could just kind of lay on. Really nice cabanas with kind of mosquito net type of things and really comfortable mattresses, and it was like right on the sand. Now you probably weren't supposed to use them unless you were an actual guest of that resort, but there was no one really watching. We had made out already and we're walking down and I'm like, oh, I know like a place that we could go to, and it's like this perfect place because I'm like, we could lay down. So I take her there, we lay down on one of these mattresses and we just start making out. And it's been so long since I've had that experience, that feeling. It was so exhilarating. My mouth was tingling from how good it felt. And we were just there for like 10 minutes and I was like, do you want to go back to my place? And she looked at me and she was like, mm-hmm. Like she said it like that. And I was like, bro, that's so hot. We end up going back to my place, having fun, whatever. And looking back on it, I realized that it all started with a moment of boldness from me. A moment of courage. And I'm not talking about even the high five that I gave her at the gym. I'm talking about I was not in the mood to go out to a dance class or to do anything really. I went to Mexico by myself, you understand, for 2 months. But I did it on purpose to push myself out of my comfort zone, kind of to use it as like a social boot camp because I'm not going to know anybody there. I'm not going to see anybody ever again. And one day I remember just like signing up for this dance class and I was like, I don't want to fucking go, dude. Like it gave me anxiety, bro. It gave me a lot of anxiety because I'm like, I'm not going to know anybody there. I suck at dancing, but this is what I signed up for. Like I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. So I ended up going there and it's like a mix of different people and I'm fucking doing my little awkward dances and stuff. But then I ended up meeting this girl and we talked and we danced together. We kind of laughed a little bit. Then I did see her again for a few weeks. But then at that gym, I see this girl next to me and I'm like, fuck it, like let me give her a high five. Like she's like working really hard and I feel like a high five is kind of like a socially acceptable way to start a conversation with a girl or interact with a girl at the gym. But that's a moment of boldness right there, just being bold. 5 minutes later, I'm like, fuck it, let me go ask her out. This might be the last time I'll see her. Asked her out. I approached her. I told her, hey, I thought you were cute. And just another moment of boldness. Boldness from you, it's like a snowball effect. When you take one bold action, it just builds and builds and builds. And it all becomes easier after that. All it takes is that first step, puts you out of your comfort zone. And if you just keep repeating that, it just snowballs. Your baseline for what you're comfortable with doing raises, okay? So it's like maybe you were uncomfortable. Maybe at first you were uncomfortable doing shit by yourself, like going to a dance class by yourself. But then eventually it becomes comfortable for you. Right now you're uncomfortable walking up to a girl and telling her that you think she's cute. But then eventually you do that enough and that becomes comfortable for you so that you could work on other things that like are a little bit further out of your reach. And this stuff just snowballs, dude. These moments of boldness. And looking back on that conversation in Madrid with that girl where it didn't really go that well and I was like overthinking everything, like what could I have said? The truth is that girl from that club, and it wasn't really going that well, that conversation wasn't going that well, she probably was never going to hook up with me in the first place. We probably just weren't really a good match to begin with. But I was being bold and I wanted to see what happened. So I walked up to her, right? Then that girl at the gym a couple months earlier, I was being bold with her and it turned into something. When you're taking these steps of boldness and you're doing it as much as you can, you're going to find that the world will reward you with people or situations. The universe will reward you with women that genuinely like you for who you are. And then the women that don't like you for who you are, that's just going to be, you're going to filter them out and you're not going to be overthinking about them. Fuck it. Who cares? It's not about saying the perfect line to a girl when you see her, but it's just about recognizing these moments that require you to be bold. And the truth is, bro, how do you know what those moments are? It's always the moments that scare you the most. So signing up for that dance class for me fucking scared me. I was anxious about it, but I went and did it anyways. Giving that girl a high five kind of scared me a little bit. I'm like, I'm taking a moment of social boldness right here. I'm kind of taking a risk, right? Maybe she like doesn't like me or something, but I went for it anyways. Talking to her, asking her out on a date that same night. That's bold of me. Maybe she would have said no. Like, what if she was like, ew, like, I don't want to fucking go on a date with you. Like, it's a scary thing to do, but where you're scared is where you need to act. But those moments that scare you, I mean, everything that scares you, that's like a compass. You know how like in a video game, like if you're playing one of those open world, like Skyrim type of video games, you have that like little arrow at the top that kind of points you towards the direction you need to go. If you feel fear, treat it like that little fucking arrow. That's literally what fear is. It's a compass and you need to go towards that. And that's the only way. We're talking about like, how do you get good with women? It's through that. It's through approaching those women, even when you're afraid. If you're afraid of like asking for her number, well, guess what, bro? That's what you gotta do. There's no way around it. There's no side quests that you can do to ultimately get to that main mission of getting her number. And if you're on a date and you're afraid of, touching her because you know that you need to kind of physically escalate, but you're afraid, well, guess what, bro? The only thing that you're supposed to do is go for that fear. Put your arm around her. Go in for that kiss. If you want support and guidance on your journey, hit me up. I do one-on-one coaching with a limited amount of guys. You'll find the link for that down below. I'll see you next time.